Hello and welcome to Balderton Methodist Church 10-minute ministry. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to begin tonight with a story from America called Smokey the Bear. 8-year-old Leanne's favourite toy was a battered teddy bear called Smokey. Smokey sported a navy blue park ranger's uniform with a wide-brimmed hat and a big shiny badge. All over America, brand new Smokies dressed in exactly the same uniform had been produced by the fire service to remind children about preventing forest fires. But even though there were so many Smokies around, Leanne's Smoky was special. Those other bears might know a lot about fire prevention, but only Leanne's bear knew all about Leanne. Leanne and Smokey did everything together. So naturally, the year that the Heath family went caravanning in Kentucky, Smokey went too. Apart from Smokey, there were 5 family members on holiday with Leanne that summer. There was her mum, her dad, her older sisters, Julie and Lisa, and her granny. And between them, they had a lot of different ideas about what holidays were for. Mr. and Mrs. Heath thought holidays were for rushing around, seeing as many sights as possible. This meant that they aimed never to spend more than one night in any one place. Julie and Lisa thought holidays were for swimming and meeting boys. This meant they wouldn't allow Mr. Heath to stop at any campsite unless it had a swimming pool. Granny Heath believed that a holiday was for falling asleep in the back of the car. This meant she spent her time snoring very loudly. As for Leanne, well, she had thought holidays were enjoying yourself, but she certainly wasn't enjoying this one. Day after day, she found herself squashed in the car with her snoring grandmother on one side, her squabbling sisters on the other. "Does this site have a swimming pool?" they would yell whenever Mr. Heath found a likely place to stop. If there wasn't a swimming pool, they made him drive on for hours, it seemed, until he found one. It wouldn't have been so bad if Leanne had liked swimming pools, but she didn't. She couldn't really swim. So the week went by, with Leanne becoming more and more fed up. Each day was horrible, but somehow out of all the horrible days, the day before they were due to go home was the worst. Granny snored terribly loud, and as usual, her sisters spotted a terribly good-looking boy at the swimming pool and left her sitting on her own at the edge. "Know something, Smokey? I hate holidays," Leanne whispered in Smokey's ear. All she wanted to do after tea was curl up in bed. "Good night," she called gloomily, trailing off towards the van. "Good night, Leanne," her dad called after her. "I'll be in a minute to tell you a story." This was the first piece of good news Leanne had had all day. Her dad had brilliant bedtime stories. He made them up himself, all about Smokey and his adventures. "Will it be a Smokey story?" she checked. "Sure thing. Just give me a few minutes to sort out the route home." Now, you may have noticed that this about adults, but often when they ask you to give them a few minutes, they really mean a few hours. And that was the way it was with Mr. Heath and his route home. Leanne waited and waited, but there was no sign of her dad. In the end, she fell asleep without her bedtime story. The journey home next morning got off to a bad start. The whole family overslept. It was gone 9 o'clock, and before long, Mr. Heath was hurrying everyone out of the caravan and into the car. There was no time for breakfast. They would have to grab something on the way home. One good thing about tumbling straight out of bed into the car is that your body doesn't get a chance to wake up. Leanne, Julie, Lisa and Granny all dozed peacefully through the first part of the journey. It wasn't until they had been travelling for a couple of hours that Leanne suddenly realised something wasn't quite right. She felt around, but no furry body came to hand. She sat up. She hunted all over the back of the car. "Mum, where did you pack Smokey?" she called. "I can't find him anywhere." There was a sudden screech of brakes. "We're having an accident! We're having an accident!" Julie and Lisa clutched each other blindly. But they weren't having an accident. Mr. Heath had simply pulled it in suddenly to the side of the road. "I feel terrible." "Are you ill?" cried Mrs. Heath, full of concern. "No, it's what I've done." And out it all came. The previous night, after Leanne had fallen asleep, he remembered about the bedtime story. He'd been mad with himself for breaking his promise. So he'd taken Smokey and put him up in a tree outside the caravan. He had planned on Leanne discovering him in the morning and then was going to tell her this really good story of how we got there. Only in the rush to get on the road, he'd forgotten. "Are you saying that Leanne's teddy is stuck up a tree 100 miles away?" said Julie. Mr. Heath nodded and Leanne burst into tears. "Oh, Smokey, my Smokey, I'll never see him again," she sobbed. "Right, that's it." Mr. Heath started the engine and turned the car around. "Hey, where are we going?" Julie and Lisa cried. "Where does it look like? We're going back to the campsite to get Smokey. That's where." The million-dollar question in everyone's mind was whether Smokey would still be up the tree when they got there. And it was a big relief to reach the place where they had parked their caravan and see a threadbare paw poking out between the branches. "Down you come, pal." Mr. Heath fished the bear out of his hiding place and handed him to Leanne. "Oh, Smokey, did you miss me?" "I missed you," she said. Meanwhile, her parents were trying to work out what to do next. "We'll never make it home now," Mrs. Heath pointed out. "That's true," Mr. Heath agreed, looking thoughtful. "You know, somehow this Smokey business has made me think. Maybe we've been doing too much rushing around. Maybe we should extend our holiday and just, well, be together as a family." So that's what they did. For the first time since leaving home, the Heath family spent 3 whole days in one place, not rushing around, no driving, no sightseeing. There was time for playing games, having fun, telling stories. And after 3 days of being together, everyone felt better. "Know something, Smokey?" Leanne whispered in her teddy's ear when they finally bundled into the car for the drive home. "Thanks to you, this has been a pretty good holiday after all." In lots of ways, aren't we all like the Heath family? We rush around, getting as much done as we can, when perhaps we should all take some time to just sit quietly. I'd like to share some words from Luke chapter 10, verses 38 to 42. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, they came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet, listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me." "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, You are worried and upset about many things, but only one thing is needed. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. God created us as human beings, not human doings. In the middle of all our activities, we need to occasionally stop and spend time quietly with God. We don't even have to say or think anything. Lots of the time, we just need to listen to what God is saying to us, what God would like us to spend our time and energy doing. There's always something to be done. There's always a job that must be performed. But when that something gets to possess you, to leave you with no time for prayer, no time for quiet, no time for the work of the Spirit, then it has become obsessive. And let's face it, in our culture, it has become obsessive. As much as it is against most of our inclinations, we all need to spend time just being with God, not doing, not evangelizing, not ushering in the kingdom, not solving all the world's problems, perhaps not even making a fancy supper for our house guests or getting the floors and carpets cleaned before our visitors arrive. The good news is that we don't have to be super workers for Jesus. The time we spend prayerfully meditating, listening, being silent before the Master is just as important as our doing. Instead of just don't stand there, do something, we can also say, just don't do something, stand there. Let us pray. Lord Jesus, if you came to our house today, would we be ready for you? Would we recognise you? Lord, this idea of you coming again, we find it hard to understand. It's exciting, but it's a bit scary too. Lord, we know you come to us every day. You can be happy with us in the good times. You can help us through the hard times. Lord, we won't hang around just waiting for you to come. Help us to remember at the beginning of each day to invite you to share our lives. Show us how you want us to live. Help us to recognise you in other people. Then we will always be ready for you. Amen. Thank you for joining us tonight. May God bless you in your activities and in your time of quiet.